Good evening, everyone. Thanks everyone for your time this evening, wherever you are in the world. We have quite a mixture for people from today. We have a lot of South Africans, obviously, as per usual. We have some Canada, America, Dubai, UAE, Ireland as well. So we have quite a few people all together, which is great. So we've been doing these webinars for the last couple of years now. This is our first of this year at the end of the year, but we are starting again some more next year. We're going to be doing quarterly next year. So really we're here to try and help anybody looking at relocating to the UK with as many hints and tips as we can. Some people in the screens I recognise. It's good to see some names here. Some beers need to be ordered soon, and darts matches, I believe, as well. And they know who they are. That's Merv. Good to see you. And so that, yeah, we have a good mixture of people as well. We have doctors, accountants, lawyers, retired people, engineers, surveyors, financial directors. So we have a good mixture of people all looking to move at different times. So look, we're more than here. We're here to try and help anybody and everybody as we can with your moving requirements. Whether it's, if we can help you, we can just give you some hints and tips. It's purely down to you. More than happy to show you however we possibly can get you moving. A lot of people come to us at the end to try and help because they've tried themselves, and we all know moving internationally is extremely difficult, very, very hard, and the market is extremely tough. So hopefully through the presentations we'll give you some hints and tips from, I cover generally the south of England, Andrew covers more the north of England, but Andrew will talk about himself in a minute. But yeah, that's it, just a brief introduction as to what we do and how we try to work. So I've been in business for quite a long time now, 37 years, from 1986, as you can just see there, when the world was a different place. We phoned people all the time. We didn't have email. We had fax machines, just about it. So I did 21 years of estate agency, cut my teeth there up to a director level. And then in around 2007, I'd flipped from the sales side to the letting side. So I've been doing corporate relocation and private relocation since then. So the last 16 going to 17 years now, I've been doing that side of things. I've been a landlord for nearly 25 years, so I know what a landlord wants to hear from you. I've been a tenant on and off for 12 years, so I know what a tenant wants to hear from you. And I've also run a lettings and property management department. So I've seen every sort of piece of the puzzle, which helps us when we're building our relationships with our estate agents to get the best for you. Because, and I always do this whenever I speak to anybody, if I were to move to wherever you're living, Durban, Cape Town, Ireland, England, America, Canada, wherever, I wouldn't know the local agents. I wouldn't know where to start. I'd have an idea, but I wouldn't know that those relationships that have been built over the years, they trust us, know us and like us. So therefore, if we had to move to one of your areas, we wouldn't know the agents. We wouldn't know how best to do it. So we really utilize that a lot, because there's such a shortage of properties, which we're going to come on to later, and most of you will probably know this anyway, such a shortage of properties to let, and they have lots of choices. So we have to make sure that we can't always get to see the view the properties ourselves. We have to do WhatsApp viewings, video call viewings, unless we don't have someone local to view, but it's pretty rare to get that. So it's highly competitive, and it's not getting any easier, unfortunately, but hopefully if the market is getting, with the autumn statement today, hopefully may feel like a few more people have got a few more pounds in their pocket, or rands or dollars or whatever. So hopefully we can try and help out with some, I say, hints and tips there. But that's just me. Andrew will go through some other bits and pieces of himself in a minute. There's my Google reviews, which I'm very pleased now that I'm up to 70 Google reviews and all 5 stars. So thank everybody, each of them individually. I'm as good as my last review. That's all I feel. So nice to see some of those names. And one of those, I think the top comment there from Katya does say that I remain calm and positive, which really calmed her down. Now, I'm generally quite calm and positive, but I'm more like a swan or a duck. So I'm still paddling away and stressing as such, but I won't show it, and I won't allow it to be shown, even if the client is, because it's a big roller coaster, as all of you know, that we are one small part, but quite a large part of what you do with the move. So we're used to that. And so we still value every review we get. And like I say, we're as good as our last client. So, Andrew, you have some new stats first, or you're going to talk about yourself first?
Yeah, I can share the stats, or I'll give an overview. I suppose it's probably a bit easier if I share them. 2 seconds, I'll just click through. It was just, obviously the market evolves over the course of the year. I'll put this link in the chat. So it's just myself and Mark were looking a bit earlier at noticing, obviously we've got the Christmas running. And in effect, it was just saying, we're having a bit more success in actually getting through to agents, because they don't tend to answer the phones much. In terms of pricing, just to give people a gauge on average rents in the UK, in the last quarter, they have gone up. London pricing is around about the £2,000 mark for an average 2-bed, 3-bed. Southwest, around about the 1,500 mark. And in the Northwest, I think it's slightly inaccurate, is it says 766. We're Manchester based, so it is a little bit more expensive than that. But if you go up to areas in Burnley or the Ribble Valley, a bit away from the main cities, you'll find the prices do drop a bit. Expectations wise, they are expected to increase slightly again, mainly due to lack of supply. I won't go into it, but the main factors driving are increased demand for the rental properties, which is because of the lack of rental options. I think we're 46% down from 4 years ago, and the rising cost of living. So people are kind of opting to rent rather than buy a little bit as well. So we can go into more detail on that if it's of interest. It's just an oversight because we get a lot of inquiries saying, why are agents not replying to us, etc., etc. So it's just to give you a bit of insight on statistics wise. As for myself, I've got a few years on Mark. So obviously started back in 2004. That was my first rental property as a landlord. And then I do invest. It's more of a pension plan. So we provide the investment side from a personal view. So it's an interest as well as a job. Hence why we tend to work quite long hours. Actually have a master's degree in property, so understand the mechanics of how you'd buy a property and do it up and how it works for both landlord and tenants. And then since 2013, we've been helping people relocate from all over the world. So I think January this year was 10 years, and we've done over 1,000 relocations, advised on I think over 6 million in both rentals and sales. And yeah, we've kind of covered a lot of ground and a lot of knowledge, and like to think we provide a good service. It is getting a little bit tougher, as Mark touched on. It's more we're working every day, so it's how to understand the market and how to work with the agents, and also how to pitch about why our clients should be accepted over other people applying. I think on the latest data, 30 people are applying for every property. Some will be discounted almost immediately due to affordability criteria, but there's normally 5 to 10 good offers in, which makes it difficult for landlords to pick from. So it's on us to kind of promote people in the best light possible to ensure we get accepted. And there's plenty of tips and tricks. We have plenty of resources. Happy to share them as well. I mean, our aim is to be as transparent as possible. I think Mark will agree. Just to ensure you're fully informed, because we appreciate it's a life-changing move. So we want to make sure it's the right move and you're fully informed on what's to come, etc. So I'm slacking on the reviews. I'm only on 40, so Mark's on 60. So a bit of catching up to do there.
You got several years on me, so it's okay.
But yeah, I mean, any questions about ourselves, about the property market, anything in particular? I know pets are often a big one. Are welcome, and we'd like to think we can answer them. If we can't, we generally know someone who can. And happy to hand over to Dirk to share his wisdom on visas courtesy of Brighton Backs, who I know do a great job for visas and immigration.
Yeah, thanks, Mark, Andrew. Thanks for having me on tonight. One thing I must say, reading your experiences and your Google reviews is I should probably get busy in buying a property or something for myself. I'm getting behind the trend, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll deal with that some other time. In any case, thank you to all in the audience. As you see there, my name is Dirk, and I am an immigration consultant at Brayton Bus. Following the trend, a little bit more about myself. Before I started, working in the landscape of immigration, I was a lawyer in South Africa, spent a bit of time in the normal South African practice, ended up in the immigration landscape, and I've been doing this for quite some time now. So a little bit more about Brayton Bus from our side. We are UK immigration specialists, so we only deal with the UK. We can help with anything, based for the UK, from your normal visitor visa right up to your, corporate business immigration and all of that. So I don't know, Mark, Andrew, if you guys want me to run through a bit of the changes in immigration at the moment, or should we keep that for a bit later?
I think it's certainly good because there's a lot of things have changed, do change. I mean, I know from your website that we were looking at a few days ago, there's so many variations of the visas that you can get, as you know. We tend to hear of like tier 2, ancestral, spousal visas and things like that, but maybe coming into the costings and things like that is a good idea. Just an overview, and wait for some. I've got some other questions as well from people, but if anybody wants to drop something in the chat box, please do. But yeah, carry on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, if we look at the news in immigration this year, the biggest news, that's got everyone on the edge of their seat has to be these, fee increases. Now, some of you on here tonight might have seen that, but on 4th of October this year, the application fee for all visa routes has gone up between 15 and 20% for all, visa categories. So that's already been implemented. We're working with that already. The far bigger news here is that on 16 January, give or take, that's the proposed date, the immigration health surcharge will also be raised, and that's going to be raised by a staggering 67%. So that is a massive add on your cost of immigrating to the UK. So it's more important now than ever to set up everything correctly from the start, to make sure you have all that you need to effect this immigration, your visas arrive timeously, and also tying in with what Mark and Andrew is doing. I know that it's a very, very big cause of stress for most clients that I deal with. Relocating but not having anywhere to go once you get that side. And a lot of clients that have done that, have found that once you get that side, you are going to struggle to find the perfect place for yourself. And you often, if you have, the capacity or the option to take something, it might not be what you envisioned or what you would want to like. And that is why it's very important, to plan all of these things beforehand. So just take note of that fee increase. As I said, 16 January 2024 seems to be when it's going to happen. All applications going in before that date will still make use of the old immigration health surcharge fee. And for some of you that don't know what the immigration health surcharge fee is, that is essentially your payment for the use of the NHS in the UK. You'll then be able to use the NHS same as any other British citizen. So that, I think, is the biggest thing to take note of in this year in immigration. A few other things that happen in immigration this year, or a few updates rather, that I'll be giving you is, if we look at something that also happened and was big news fairly recently, was the passing of a new Nationality and Borders Act for the UK. So a lot of clients now have the opportunity to pursue registering as a British citizen where they could not do it before. Now, we've been almost a year, or it is more than a year down the line since that has been passed, and we are getting feedback on applications now. So it's a bit more clarity at the moment. These applications take very long because of the fact that the Home Office is so inundated with incoming applications. So just a bit of an update on that. It is slowly turning the wheel. So if there's still anyone out there that wants to have a look at that, you're welcome to reach out and we can have a look. And then the only other thing I can say is we're nearing the end of the year. We're nearing the Christmas period, so it's important to get everything to get all your planning in line now. Because even though, I mentioned it earlier to Mark and Andrew, even though the Home Office does not officially close with applications, so things tend to take a bit longer over this holiday period, and also stemming a bit into the January period. So it is important to reach out and see, what can be done at the moment, to have a look at that. And one thing that I also foresee, if we look at previous trends, is when the Ukraine and Russia situation took place, it didn't come to a standstill, the immigration spectrum, but it nearly doubled in time that it would take you to get everything. So I also foresee something like that with the new Israeli crisis. I don't think it's going to be as severe, but just take note of it. We might see some delays in the near future with that, but obviously you can keep a watch on our socials and all of that. You can also reach out to Mark, Andrew directly. They'll put you in touch with me and we can chat about it a bit more. Just before I hand over to Mark and Andrew again, I see that one question came in there about the actual pound amount of the, I should say sterling amount, right? That's how we speak in the UK. But in any case, so the increase there is, at the moment you're looking at about £624 per year, going up to £1,035 per year. And then for children, that's for the adults. For children, we looked at £470 a year at the moment, going up to £776 per year next year. One important thing to note there is that these fees are payable upfront for the length of your visa, meaning if you go for a 3, 4, 5 year visa, it'll automatically be multiplied by your term in the UK and you have to pay that upfront. So as you guys can see, it's a huge one to pay off the bat. It's worth it in the end, but it is a big cost from the start. So it does place a lot of stress on people with the application. So it is very important now more than ever to make sure that we can get it right that first time, because obviously the effect thereof, if you get a refusal based on something like this, is now it's going to cost you a lot more money if you got that refusal to try and do something like this again. But in any event, enough of me. Mark, Andrew, over to you guys again for some discussions.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Dirk, for that. That's incredible amount. That's a crazy amount, isn't it? Unbelievable. But no, thank you for that. I had a question. It was just from somebody asked me a couple of days ago, so I was going to bring this into it. It didn't get asked. We've got somebody moving over, I think it's March, April time, on an ancestral visa. Is there a kind of like, I mean, when we speak to people, we like to try and work with people 2 to 3 months in advance if we can. That's the perfect time we can do it when people are looking to move. But is there a best time to try to, because obviously you have different types of visas. When is it a month, 2, 3, 6? When's the best time to at least have a chat with you and just look at the situation?
Yeah, look, Mark, it's going to depend really on what type of visa you're going to be going for. Let's take something like the ancestral visa, for instance. A normal ancestral visa, once you've applied, takes about 3 to 4 weeks, processing time for you to get the visa. So that's quite quick. It's one of the quicker ones that you can get.
Okay.
One of the other things that the Home Office specifies in their rules is you can apply for these visas, and this applies to nearly all of the visas, say for student visas, that you can apply for up to 3 months before you want to travel to the UK. So say we have the scenario that you want to travel on the 1st of April 2024. You can apply from March, February, from January. So you see, you can plan your immigration to the UK. If it comes to getting in touch, well, I would say 3 months is more than enough time to sort something like this out and get everything into perspective. But if we look at other types of visa, something like a spousal visa, something like a skilled worker visa, that's going to take a bit more time. If you look at the skilled worker visa, you have to have a job offer from a UK company that is licensed to accept migrant workers. That may take some time. Then you have something like a spousal visa, where we have a significant financial requirement, which is not difficult to meet, but it's quite difficult to evidence with the documents that you have to prove. So that might also take some time to get into place. So I think, the honest answer here, guys, is if you are looking at going over to the UK or making that step for immigration in the next year, it wouldn't hurt to reach out to see, what type of timelines, because at least, we can tell you, okay, I see you going this and this and this route. let's have a chat and this and this date. Or I see you doing this, let's make sure you have this in place before, you go to all of these. Because we have to also look at the additional costs that you're going to be paying for all of this, apart from the visas, English testing, TB testing, stuff like that. And that all goes into a certain time frame. So we have to look at that. But in short, Mark, I would say if you're looking at going in 2024, would be a good thing to reach out now.
Okay, no, that seems fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Andrew, do many people, are they more on tier 2 skilled workers in Manchester area, or just again a mixture like all of us? We have, everybody's different.
Yeah, tend to be skilled workers. It'll be normally, if it's a family, for example, the husband or the wife will have the job, and then the spouse is coming and trying to find a job. So we'll obviously there is agents who can help with job finds. My wife uses one as a teacher, so we try and help out where we can. I suppose it's like you say, it's finding a property is probably the most important thing, but there's so many different elements that come with moving to a new country. So yeah, that's generally what we find. People are coming on the tier 2 visas currently. Yeah.
That's fair enough. There's a great question for you to answer, Dirk. So I have no idea when somebody was born in Zimbabwe at 622. It's quite a detailed one there for you.
Yeah, I was actually going to type on that one now, but it's good that we can quickly chat on it. So, with the new nationality and borders bill, the biggest question is, yes, it does come into play where you were born and where your parents were born, but the biggest thing that comes into play is, was there, and this will apply to 80 to 90% of the cases, was there a maternal link somewhere in your ancestral lineage to the UK? The reason why that's so important is the new Nationality and Borders Bill/Act was specifically drawn up for people that was affected by historical legislative injustice. And if we look back at that, pre-1983, a British woman could not pass on her citizenship directly to her children, which they've now tried to rectify. So now we're sitting with scenarios, that it not only trickles down to the first person in the lineage, but it can possibly trickle down to the second person in the lineage, meaning that if your grandparent stems from the UK, you normally would have the ancestral visa route available to you, and that's the only one. Now we do have the option of looking into that to see if that's if it's going to be, or if the client's going to be eligible to apply for citizenship directly, to apply to register as a citizen. So, the short answer to that is that there might be a chance in that specific scenario. So, I would say anyone who has that question can reach out to me directly, and we can run a quick inquiry for them through our nationality department, because of the fact that they will require a bit more information than that stated there. But in short, that qualifies for an ancestral visa, could potentially trickle down to a citizenship application.
Wow. It's just so complicated to me. It just seems how anybody would do it themselves is just beyond me. So good answer. Next question. Once your visa has been approved, you have to arrive in the UK within 90 days? Because I think I get it when people have a BRP, they have a 90-day window to arrive. Is that right? Yeah,
that's absolutely correct. It used to be 30 days in the past. Since we had the COVID situation, they prolonged that to a 90-day period. So all visas now, if from the day that you ask them to make your visa valid for, you have 90 days to enter the UK for the first time. That is known as the entry clearance period. So that is absolutely true, that statement. A little bit of an advice there. There's rumors going around in the mill that they're going to change that back to 30 days soon. But, we will be informed, and you'll also be able to see that on our socials if that happens.
Okay, that's right. So did that come in just before Brexit? Not Brexit, sorry, wrong one. COVID.
Yeah, so the 90-day thing came in just before COVID. And before COVID, we had only 30 days as your entry clearance. Okay. Now from the time that we have COVID, it was the initial reasoning behind it is they wanted to make it a 90-day period in order for someone to kind of arrange the flights, because there wasn't a lot of flights, all of that. But now they didn't change it back because it seemed to be working. People have a bit more of a time planning schedule. They can, get their affairs in order before they go to the UK. So that's, at least that's what I think happened there.
Fair enough. That's fine. And then next question, 2 British passport holders. Can you see that one, Dirk?
Yeah, got it here in front of me. So, family of 2 British passport holders, 2 Irish passport holders. No NHS needed. You know, they're both. If you look at it in that aspect, British citizens, people with permanent residence in the UK, people with status under the European Union Settlement Scheme, and Irish citizens can simply. You have the right to live and work in the UK. So no, NHS payments available or needing to be done. No visas needing to be done. So you can just hop over and go and live your life in the UK.
Excellent. I think that's what they wanted to hear.
Yeah.
So in light of the new information, obviously the increase in prices, Dirk, I imagine Ancestral Visa is, well, if the opportunity is there, is the best way forward. Is that right?
Yeah, look, I would say it's the best way forward if you do it now, before that increase. Remember, if we look at something like an Ancestral Visa, let me put it like this. Ancestral Visa is actually one of my favorite visas because it's the most flexible visa that you can get for the UK. You have full right to work from the start. You can work wherever you want. You open your own company, full right to live, and you have it for the full 5 years. After the 5 years, of course, if you meet certain requirements, you can apply for your indefinite leave to remain. Now, the reason why I say it is important to apply for that this year before that increase comes in is because it's a 5-year visa, you're going to be paying 5 years worth of NHS payments from the start. So if you do that now, you're going to be potentially saving more than £2,000 on your NHS only per person. Whereas if you hold that off to next year and you go from, let's say February onwards, that is £2,000 more per person. So if you look at something like a family of 5, you can see it's going to cost you a lot more money. But I agree with you, Andrew, in terms of the choice that you have, Ancestral Visa is by far one of the most popular options if you have the eligibility to do that.
Right.
Mervyn, that's great. 52 years away and then came back seamlessly. That's perfect, isn't it? Exactly what you'd like as well. That's what you want. That's what you hope for. That's good.
Yeah.
Andrew, did you want to go over one of your case studies? You had quite a few to go through. Did you want to pick one, and I can pick one as well, just to run through some?
Yeah, can do. Do you want to take us off, Mark? I was just putting on it. Yeah, I'll let you run with that.
Can we okay, that's fine. So there's several different case studies we've all come up with. I've just not picked one in particular. There's somebody from last year that moved into, and they were paying upfront rent. Now, not everybody get asked to or can afford to pay upfront rent because it's expensive here anyway, as you know. But this particular person were able to offer 9 months in advance rent on the offer. Now, we got on very well with the agent, very well with the landlord. The landlord actually said, I don't want 9 months up front because you'll push me over my tax limit for that tax allowances for that year. So we actually managed to get, it was quite a complicated one with dogs and cats and grandparents and lots of children, etc., etc. So there was quite a lot we were trying to incentivize the landlord to accept us. But he said, look, I really like the fact you have the means to pay me 9 months in advance, but I don't need it all in one go. So we can either pay it quarterly or monthly. The tenant was absolutely over the moon. The landlord was very, very happy, but it just shows you there's different ways where we can not just use the upfront payment, because a lot of these people won't get, unless they get to meet you, which are not going to, they've got to know, like, and trust us, essentially. So that's what they're burning on, because they know when we registered with some agents, there's a particular agent called Leaders and Romans in UK, which are quite a big, well-known agent. I've been registered with them. I worked against them since 1987, basically. And when I registered with them, they say to me, oh, if I don't know the person, are you on our mailing list? I said, just check my record. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, you're on here hundreds of times. They're like, yeah, I do this for a living. This is my living. So I know when I'm asking you a question, I'm professional. We know what we're talking about. I've got a real client. And then we get a bit of gravitas because they know we're relocation property finders. So they give us a little bit of extra treatment. They can't guarantee to us, but they know we come with really good clients. And when we come with really good clients, they will always pitch to their landlords when they're pitching for the business versus the competition, that we deal with all the corporate agents and the estate corporate people coming over, have good jobs. They're very safe, they're very sound. And we have these people who have a tier 1, tier 2 skilled worker visa or ancestral or whatever it is. They like the fact they don't have to pay up front. As long as you're working and having a job paid within the UK, they don't like it when you're not paid in the UK, but that's a different one again. So all these things just help smooth the process. And it's just how those relationships we've all built up between me and Andrew over many decades of working with people and being the agent as well, and being a landlord, being a tenant. We just know how to best put it forward. It's not always, we can't always get the deal agreed over in one day. We have to do it in bite-sized chunks, but we can be quite confident / pushy, not arrogant, hopefully, with the agents. But if someone does it from another country with a different accent, we have an accent as well, obviously, then they maybe don't take it the right way because they don't know the person, they just don't know what they're saying. But we just know what to say. We know when to say it, how to say it, and when not to say it as well. So it's more just about the relationships with the agents, but we could have picked a couple. That was just one that I picked up from last year.
Yes, Mark. Yeah, for me, it was more the a family one, and also how to work the system in a way. It's a lovely family moving to Cheshire. They're actually arriving January the 1st, 2024. We'd found the property for them. It comes available November 26th. So obviously, no landlord wants a property sat empty for 6 weeks. So we had to negotiate pretty hard on that. We came up with a date of December the 19th to officially start the tenancy. But one of the provisos was that we need all the legal paperwork before December the 7th, mainly because of the secondary school applications. So I don't know how familiar people are with primary and secondary schools in the UK, but there's certain dates which are cut-off dates to get your applications in for the next academic year. So this December the 7th is the date that we need to have legal paperwork to show we're living in that area to be accepted into the nearby high school. So we're effectively getting the paperwork tomorrow. So all payments have been done. We've pushed all the referencing through quickly, so we can actually get that in and get accepted for the school we want, rather than having to go in through an in-year catchment, which effectively means you get put in any school with availability. And then the second tweak on this one was both the family members will still be working for South African companies. So they're asking for 6 months rent up front. We were able to work it because the wife, it's called Natalie, it's a global company. So through doing the UK referencing, we were able to pick up the company, and rather than having to pay 6 months rent up front, through myself negotiating with the agent, we tweaked it to put the whole rent through on Natalie's salary alone, which equated to, rather than having to pay 6 months up front, they can now pay month to month. So it's a lot nicer way of working it, but it's only through that knowledge you kind of learn to ask the right questions to make sure we can make it happen. So that was, quite a nice one to end the year. And John is actually flying in on business next week. So I'm meeting up with John and we're going to view the property. So a good results and a nice one to end the year on, because there's always every case is different. So it's always thinking the best way forward, and there's always a hurdle or two, and it's only through experience, I suppose, you get to kind of work out how to get over them hurdles.
Very true. Very true. We've got some more here now. Is it better to have a guarantor on your lease or to show you have the means to pay your upfront? That's a great question. Someone's cooking dinner in the background there. So is it better to guarantor on lease? Now, so as many things as you can, because the landlord can be risk averse if someone's coming from abroad to rent a property. You don't have to have a year up front. You don't have to have a guarantor. But if you're working in the UK, they prefer you to be being paid into the UK in a salary as such. And if you're come over on a skilled worker visa, that's even better. If you can show you have a guarantor, I have a couple next in January coming over, where his job starts, in February actually starts, and the boss is going to be a guarantor. It's quite rare, but it's good to know, because obviously he's employing him to come over. So that's great to have that. And it's just another insurance policy from a landlord's perspective. If he's competing against 30, 40 other people from that local area, if you can pay a little bit up front, that's great. But if you've got that guarantor, it negates that limit to where you say you had to do it. I thought of another case study I was going to mention as well, where I had a guy who was literally distraught, came to me in early spring, summer this year. He had 3 months up front he could pay. His wife was over here already. His dog and his family and his kids were back in SA. She was a teacher. She couldn't accept a job because she wasn't here. And I said to him on my Zoom call, I said, if you were local to me now, I would take you for a beer, because he was so stressed. He really was so stressed. He really needed to try. So I said, let me just try and speak about how we can do some options. We managed to say, look, if you can get a guarantor, that'd be great because of your situation. If you can pay 6, maybe 12 months in advance, let me try and leverage that 12 months, 6 to 12 months upfront rent. And we got a deal agreed with an agent I know very well to pay 6 to 12 months upfront. But again, the landlord said, you know what, just pay me quarterly, the first quarter in advance, and then monthly. Just wanted to check that he was happy first of all. So you just break it down. But by having that flexibility to say we could pay up to 12 months in advance, just knocks the other people out of the park, as well as maybe having a guarantor, as well as they know us and trust us, etc. So there's many ways to make it work. It's not just one thing. It's not just a case, as Andrew knows, making one phone call to an agent and luckily getting an offer agreed. Andrew can tell you how many calls he can make sometimes to make 1 or 2 viewings. It's a ridiculous number of calls, it really is. And we know who we're talking to as well. So that's crazy. So if you can have a guarantor, it's normally a UK-based homeowner that they want. It's nice to have. It's not a necessity, but generally, if it's for most people, that if you don't know, the way they generally work out the affordability is 30 times the monthly rent. So if you're renting for £1,000 a month, your salary needs to be £30,000 a year. If it's just above, a guarantor I think is 36 times, so need to be £36,000 a year. But that's just a rough it. If you're on £50,000-60,000 and you're going for £1,000 a month, and you have a guarantor and you can pay up front, you're bulletproof, but not everybody has that option. So we use as many options as we can to try and save you money. We want to, if you can pay that 6 to 12 months up front, I use it as leverage to try and get through the front door, to get the viewing, to get things agreed. Then I try to renegotiate very carefully, very, very carefully if we can, so we don't lose the deal. But we've got to be smart, pushy, confident, not arrogant, but we can be that pushy, whereas you guys couldn't be that pushy. They would not let you get away with it, but we can. They know we're being pushy.
If you like.
They used to it. So that's what we're just trying to do. But it was just another. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there with a case study, but it was just referred to the guarantor part and upfront. And when they moved in the end, he was just so over the moon. It was unbelievable. It's just a different way to make it happen. So we didn't spend all his money. I didn't want to spend all his money, but I just needed to use the threat that we can put more money into it if we need to. But then the landlord likes us, the agent liked us, and we sort of backtracked. So brilliant. It was really so the more things we can have, the better. But we can't do it on every time.
How successful can we be in securing a rental with 2 pets? I think the main answer is it depends on the pets. I mean, if there are pets coming, I'll always ask for a pet CV, of which we'll provide an example and the cutest picture possible of your cat, dog, rabbit, whatever it may be. And we try and be transparent with the agent. We'll try.
This one I prepared earlier that will look something.
There you go.
I'm not sure if you can. I think you can. You can't see it because of that, but just roughly, just something with some images, some pictures, and
how
well that's shown.
So yeah, the long and short of it is it depends on the pet. It may be, for example, people work from home, so you can push that working from home so the dog's not left alone, so it's not barking, annoying neighbours, for example. So there's loads of things you can work on the agent from an angle. Some are blanket, no pets, because the landlord's had a bad experience of having pets previously, so there's kind of no negotiation. I don't know how Mark approaches it. I try and do the viewing, build the rapport, and then drop in about the pets.
Yeah, it depends on the time. If it says pets allowed, a lot of agents don't advertise pets allowed, because if they do that, they'll just get swamped with like 100 people, because there are so many people with pets. I think during COVID, I think England has something like 65-66% people have pets, something of that kind of numbers. It's 2/3 of people, so they have to be a little bit more resilient to that fact as well. But with most people, if it says no pets allowed, we could maybe squeeze one cat or dog, Andrew. If it's multiple, I've got a client at the minute, we're just trying to find a house for. We nearly thought we'd agreed something today. We've got 2 cats and 1 dog. She said, "Oh, it won't be a problem." And then later this afternoon, she said, "Oh, just don't mention the cats at the moment." Like, we can't do that. I've got my client's money here, and we've got to look after them. We can't just not mention the cats. Is it agreed or is it not agreed? Because it's with multiple pets, it's so many more times harder again, as we know. But we rent a house and we had 2 cats. We now adopted a 3rd, so we now got 3 cats. So when we move again, it'll be a complete nightmare. I know it will be, even though we know all the agents. It will be horrific, very, 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 very hard. But if it does say pets allowed, then yeah, they are normally swamped with people. But if they don't say pets allowed, we try to get maybe 1 pet in, because we use our position of relocation agents and property finders that we can, have, like, we're one up on another tenant. We have a better client allegedly, but it's super tough. So yeah, cats or dogs. Depends on the landlord. If they've got a cat or a dog, or if they've had a problem in the past with a cat or a dog, that can depend as well. I mean, I've had people, a corporate job many years ago, we had 2 Labradors. And I did the viewing face to face. So I was out with them for the day. It's a different scenario. Didn't tell them we had dogs first of all, because I wanted them to love the clients first. They had no kids, but the wife is at home with the dogs, the 2 Labradors. But we then found out that they'd had a dog previously in I think Norwich, it was northeast England, and they'd wrecked the house. A puppy had wrecked the house, so that's why. So we had to pay a little bit more extra. We couldn't pay more deposit, because you can't pay any more than the 5-week deposit. If anybody ever gets asked for more than 5 weeks deposit, they are not allowed to accept, or we're not allowed to offer more than 5 weeks. But what sometimes will happen, and this is more in the summer and last year, maybe people would pay a little bit over on the monthly rent to cover the deposit as such. So maybe put another £25 a month, sometimes £50 a month, to cover having pets. Just quite a popular, but it's dropped off a bit than last summer. Was just crazy, so bad with that, so bad.
Yeah. It's the same up here. It's quite common if they kind of push back on the pets.
Yeah,
our backup is offering a little bit more, which I know is not ideal. But you're not allowed to charge any more than the 5-week deposit anymore, are you? Where it used to be double deposit for pets. So that's the way the agents get around it. I've put £25 off per month or something like that. So
yeah, it used to be if you rented, you had a 6-week deposit. If you had pets, you had to pay 8-week deposit. And then the government, in wisdom, about 4 or 5 years ago, they said, right, we're going to make it a level playing field for everybody. We're going to make it 5 weeks to make it fair to everybody, which obviously made it totally unfair with people with pets, because the landlord's saying, why should I rent to this person with a 5-week deposit with 2 dogs, a cat, and the other person's a single person? They're going to pay the same deposit. The wear and tear is going to be different. So it's all very tough.
Question from Samsung SM: purchasing property, explain the leasehold aspect. I think there's a very north-south divide. I don't know much about the south, but I've had a few people moving from London worried about leaseholds. Generally in the north, leaseholds are quite low, somewhere from like £8 per year. So it's not a huge aspect. The only reason when it is if it's under 100 years. So that's one thing to consider. If it is a property you're looking at purchasing, check the length of the leasehold. They're generally 999 years, and they're maybe 60 years old, the property. So there's 930 years left on the lease, at which point it's not really an issue. It's just if it's a short lease, or there's any kind of stipulation in the legal pack or the vendor pack, which so I don't know about the south. I know it's quite different down there, isn't it, Mark? So
yeah, I mean, it would never really normally get down to something where the rent the lease would actually expire. Anything below 70, 80 years, you'd either then have to become a cash buyer, or you would just negotiate for a new lease as part of the purchase price. But it takes a long time to get to that situation. And it's a very, I think it's an actuarial valuation that's carried out, quite a complicated fee process to what that lease would cost. But you would put it into the negotiations of, rather than paying £200,000, you'd pay £220,000 and get a new 125-year lease or something like that. So you would start new from that. So I think we've got a question from Mervyn that would like to come in.
Yeah.
Mervyn, how are you?
And everybody, it's not really a question.
Oh, sorry.
I actually wonder why I'd got invited here in the first place, seeing as I'm not looking for anywhere to rent in the UK at the moment, because we've just been through that mincer with yourself.
You're a special guest.
Thank you. Yes. But if I can add any insight, having just been through this rental process,
yeah,
to the people that are on this forum, then fine.
Mm.
Yeah, it was a twofold decision to relocate from South Africa during the course of last year. And I'm talking about my family. It was me initially. I'd been away for 52 years. I am British born. So I've got right of residence here, etc., and all the benefits that go with it. And I was coming back because the majority of my family were here. Now, I had remaining members of my family in Cape Town, who was a daughter, son-in-law, and 2 small children. They also decided to come across. We arranged a lot of our stuff independently of one another, because the idea for me was to retain my independence, get a property on my own, and carry on in my own sweet way, with nevertheless being close to family as I could. My daughter and son-in-law family were going their own route, and during the time we were comparing notes all the time. And what we did come up against was the fact that this rental situation, when neither of us were in a situation financially to buy a property, but the rental situation was going to be very, very difficult indeed, because of the supply and demand situation. The demand was there and increasing, that was very clear, and the supply was diminishing. So it was a bit of a double whammy there. So we were expecting some sort of difficulty. Now, I got here first back in April, and I contacted many agents, letting agents in the area, which is in the south of England, that I wanted to stay. And I was surprised, or perhaps I shouldn't have been, by the offhand manner in which I was treated. Not by all of them. One of them was very good, but the others sort of, it was almost a shrug of their shoulders and say, well, you know, we'll keep you in mind and let you know if we have anything, etc., etc. Anyway, while all that was happening, my daughter and family had got in touch. They'd stumbled across Mark's somehow. Perhaps you can tell me your side of that, well, Mark, someday, I don't know. But anyway, they did. And we were very grateful for it, because they were getting expert and very professional and useful advice from Mark before they even got here. Now, what I'd found when they got here, the actual independence of me and them being separate was probably not the sensible way to go. It's still the long-term thing we want to do, but we needed somewhere to live. And we decided to pool financial resources and find a place together, because I could help reasonably well with the share of the rental. My son-in-law didn't have a job yet. My daughter didn't have a job yet. So finances were an issue, and actually getting through all the references, credit references that we had to when we were doing viewings and accepting quite a lot of them. It was myself and my daughter running around half the south of England, just getting onto lists for viewings. And so often, they were so long. I went to one agent, the first agent I ever went to, and he had a clipboard there with about 5 or 6 sheets of A4 paper, and each one was full with appointments, viewing appointments. And that was his Monday to Friday, responsibilities. Now, that was not unusual, I can assure you. So it became very, very difficult just to get a viewing. Mark, in his inimitable manner, came in extremely professionally and usefully. Without him, we would have taken a lot longer, or we'd have gotten an aeroplane and gone back to South Africa. I really don't know, because Mark helped us tremendously with his expertise, the maturity. I've got a a daughter who is very headstrong. She needs reining in quite a lot, and she gets very impatient if she doesn't get what she wants, and she wasn't getting anywhere to rent. So we had to haul her in more than once, but with Mark's help, it worked out extremely well in the end. On a practical level, there's just one thing that springs to my mind. I don't know if it's relevant to this group or not, but something just to be aware of, apart from the general scenario which I've just sketched, how difficult everything was. It's a bit misleading when one looks at photographs that agents have put up for properties. Now, particularly coming from South Africa, we have to get used to the idea that houses and properties in the UK are a lot smaller, rooms are smaller, etc., etc. However, when you see the photographs and then you actually relate those photographs to what you're being shown, so often there's a mismatch, totally. Those photographs, I don't know if they've been taken with fisheye lenses or what. Everything is so much bigger, than what you're being confronted with. And that aspect was particularly, or perhaps it's a separate issue altogether. We were looking for a 3-bedroomed house, which we eventually got, fortunately. But on the run up to that, we were shown so many properties, which they said 3 bedrooms. No, they weren't. They were 2 bedrooms with a box room. It was very difficult to swing the proverbial cat in one of those small rooms.
And you didn't have a cat.
We didn't. We had a dog we wanted to bring across, but that proved too inexpensive. We had to make a decision. Do we take a rental, or do we bring the dog, or leave the dog back in South Africa, where he still is? Anyway, shame. That's another story. But yeah, there it is. We eventually found a place, and it was almost more by default than anything else. It was in a new build complex that we're in now, and we'd seen a couple, and we got onto the list and we put in our offer, and even paying a year's rent we offered. No, didn't work at all. And then the agent we'd been showing us around here actually phoned my daughter and said, look, we've got a place that you might be interested in because the current tenant is moving out. So we very quickly went around and had a look and said, you know what, this looks perfect in all respects. And that was the good news. We ended up more by default than anything else. However, having said that, there was a major effort put in by Mark, who helped us tremendously. We will be forever grateful, Mark. Thank you for all the efforts of you and your wife. It was excellent, but it was difficult and it was stressful for a good 2 or 3 months while we were looking around.
It is, and that's the thing. I mean, 2 to 3 months. 3 months is a quarter of a year, and that's a lot for people to live. We tell people how hard it is, not to exaggerate, because it is, as you know. And there were people that were, I know, Mervyn, you're happy to share this, I'm sure, but as in people saying, why are we getting turned down for? It's just a family of 4 with a granddad, as in, like, and you were the fuel for it with the salary, as you know, as you say, with the income to provide that. But it was the 3rd adult as such that they weren't saying it, but they were turning us down, we think, because of that as well. So, but they just wouldn't be telling us straight, as it were, because they're English. So they're not going to just tell you, they're going to keep quiet about it. But it is very stressful, and appreciate your time with everybody as well. And I think your wife made another client of mine from last year as well, didn't she? The kids are in the same class or something, is that right? Yeah,
they are. Yes. School just down the road.
Incredible. So
you're lucky. They've just finished bathing next door here, and it's an absolute nightmare trying to get them in a bath every night. It's a nightly occurrence. But anyway,
well, Andrew would know that. He's got younger kids as well, so I'm sure.
Oh, well, in that case, yes, you can identify.
Yeah. Make you laugh and make you cry every day, maybe.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. But no, thank you, Mervyn. I appreciate your time, and so we definitely and we're waiting for this game of beer and these darts that you're going to thrash me at probably. But yeah, we're definitely we've got to do it.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I haven't thrown a dart now for about 5 years.
Okay. Okay. Just one thing, just totally off the cuff, I was going to mention this. We're lucky enough to be going to Cape Town in 2 weeks' time. So we're
lovely.
going to meet
Excellent.
Zanska, who does all our social media. Going to meet Dirk as well, which would be great. Looking forward to meeting Dirk again. We've met in England already. I'm meeting somebody else on the list here that they know who they are. There's been a suggestion where to meet, so we're going to meet them as well. So looking forward to that. If there's anybody else in and around Cape Town or Mossel Bay, where we're going to, I think we're going for the game reserve and then back to Cape Town. Anybody in there that either wants to try and meet up or possibly have a conversation, if you want to, more than happy whilst I'm over there, if we have the time, if we have the chance to be on the same time zone. We're only 2 hours difference anyway, so it's not that such a massive time. But in general, I was going to just drop that in. So yeah, we're going with my stepdaughter who's from Johannesburg, so she speaks Afrikaans and things. So yeah, we can't wait to see a lot of your people on the list here. Beautiful country. So I talk to people all the time from it, but to physically be there will be like great. So we can't wait for that. So looking forward to that. But thank you, Mervyn, for your comments there. It's really appreciate it.
No problem. If you want a tour guide to show you around, I'm going to pay my airfare. I'll come back with you.
We might do, yeah. Exactly. Oh dear. Any other questions from anybody else, or we need it? I'm aware we're up to about an hour now, and I think more than an hour always takes it the toll from everybody, to be fair. But any other questions from anybody, or are we wrapped up? Did anybody want to see the screen again with our contact details if everybody wants to not? Oh yeah, can you just share the screen again?
Yeah. Dirk, are you happy for me to put yours? I know on the slide above it's got your email.
Yeah, I don't know if that slide has it, Andrew, but I'll pop it in the chat box as well. There you go. There's the email as well.
So yeah, brilliant.
Yes, I'm happy to. I think Mark, just before we end off, one thing that I hear a lot from clients, is a word that gets thrown around a lot, is obviously these right to rent checks that gets applied in the UK, and that's more from people going on a visa, So if I may, from an immigration perspective, just quickly touch on that. So if an estate agent in the UK or landlord, ask you for your right to rent, that is something that you'll only be able to prove once you're in the UK and you've received your biometric residence permit. And the reason why I specifically mentioned this is to fall in with the services that Mark and Andrew it gives in this aspect. I think I had about 1 or 2 clients, Mark, I can't recall the client's name now, but that also they try to, or you guys managed to get them a property before they were even there, and then you guys negotiated with the landlord / agent to just wait a bit, hold on, they will be on this and this and this date, and they will then get their biometric residence permit to prove the right to rent. I think that is also one of the very, very good services that you guys can render to the clients, because if a client goes directly to an estate agent, chances are they're going to ask them, where's your right to rent? If they say they don't have it yet, they're coming to the UK, they're going to say, sorry, can't help you. So just one aspect to take into account there, guys, that's on the call tonight. It's the right to rent thing is unfortunate something that you cannot get around. If they ask you for your right to rent, it's only going to be available if you're a British citizen, Irish citizen, someone with permanent residence, or you're already in the UK on your visa.
Okay.
Thank you, Dirk, and thank you everyone for your time this evening. Hope you found it useful. I think myself and Mark trying to be an open book. Any questions are obviously welcome, and
we're just trying to give as much information to anybody and ask us any questions. We're not all about us having new clients. We'd rather people contact us and message us and speak to us just in case there's a problem with anybody. Because if people are worried about things, then we just want to make sure they're being happy. They're just not getting ripped off by anybody. Basically, that's the thing. So yeah, but appreciate all your time, everyone. Thank you, everyone, with all your comments as well. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. And yeah,
And
enjoy
enjoy the rest of your
your-
evenings and your mornings wherever you are all over the world.
Yeah.
Okay, cheers. Sundown time.
Yeah. Thanks, Evan. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.
All right, lads.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.